Are you ever tempted to doubt your value and your worth? We're going to talk about that today. And we're going to start off talking about your value, your worth, whether sometimes you doubt that or look down on yourself. We're going to talk about the inherent value and worth and the true value and worth of you and even others that might be looked down upon. So we're going to start today with a word, and the word is philosophized. What does that mean? This is from my word puzzles devotional, and we're going to talk about that later. But the word is, this is new, exciting, interesting, unique words. And the word today is philosophized. What does it mean? It means to regard as insignificant or unimportant. People, maybe you feel like that, maybe those that you take care of, others that you see, maybe you feel like you're looked down upon and marginalized for many different reasons. It seems to be all in the eye of the beholder or the so-called popular group or way of thinking at the time. It might be the way a person looks. You might feel like it's how you look that doesn't measure up. Perhaps someone thinks you're too young or too old to have any ideas worth being listened to. Do you ever encounter that? Maybe a diagnosis or a label. You might feel like you're stuck in a box of labels and limitations. And that might make you feel like you seem peculiar to others. Some people might not be able to keep up with the latest trends, fashions, or latest ideas. And for a myriad of reasons, individuals and families could end up near poverty and sometimes partially or completely homeless and therefore not able to dress or attend to hygiene as well as others expect. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I'm Nurse Ann. I'm a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse on the front lines for many years and still going. So this is super important. A lot of people, it could be you, those that you take care of, others just really feel like they don't have the same worth and value because they feel looked down upon for so many reasons. And we're going to get into that and really break this apart. So this is, the channel is really for your inspirational wellness for you and to share it with others, to just help you break out of those struggles, those mind and thought battles, and just the way you feel about yourself, to be creative, to advocate for yourself and others, and so many more. And at my website, nurseann.com, you can see it in the description. There's so much there to help you break out of those struggles, those mental battles, and start building up yourself and others. So let's jump into this. Once again, the word was philosophized, to regard as insignificant or unimportant. And sometimes you can feel like that person that's marginalized or looked down upon. So we're going to get a lot of inspiration today. Inspiration, also some mental health, some mental wellness, along with scripture to help us break apart this topic of your true worth, our true worth and value, and those of others. So even in scripture, the life of Jesus is inspirational in this matter. He spent a majority of time talking to, hanging out with, and helping others who the popular crowd in society shunned and looked down upon. We can even see that happening today. He showed kindness, forgiveness, healing, and shared joy with them. He even advocated for their rights and was not afraid to go against the in crowd on their behalf. Do you ever feel like you're able to stand up and advocate for others even when the popular theme at the time might look down upon you and or others? And James 2 is also an admonition even for the church not to look down upon people because of the way they're dressed, and advises against giving preferential treatment to those just because they can afford a nicer appearance. And we see that in all aspects of work, school, society, where because someone might have more money or look a certain way, that they might be given that preferential treatment. And also 1 Timothy is a good message of encouragement, and inspiring words remind us to continue to be an example with our lives, no matter our ages or what others think about us. And then one more, 1 Samuel 16:7 displays a beautiful concept that can help us keep pushing forward despite what others think about us. It's encouraging to know that God looks at us by the motives of our heart, not our outward appearance. So that's something we can work on, to look at our true worth and value by our character, our integrity, the motives of our heart, and not just our outward appearance. Of course, we can work on being healthy and looking and feeling our best, and that's going to help our overall health. But it's also our character and integrity first, and the motives of our heart. That's from my Word Puzzles devotional. There's a link on my website because there's a lot of interesting and unique words in here. And then linked to everyday life, those inner thought struggles and battles, and along with relevant biblical prescriptions. I want you to get your dose. We can get our dose of wisdom and inspiration so that we can overcome and thrive these mind battles where we're looking down on ourselves. Hope a new light for your life journey. And you know what? There's also medicine for your soul in here. So we're going to jump on to the next one. Make sure, as I said, I'm Nurse Ann, a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse on the front line. So follow this channel, like it, leave your comments today as we go of how this affects your life, those that you take care of, and those that you see in the world. The next, we're going to jump into Inspiration Battles devotional. It's the devotional I wrote to help us with those inspiration battles and how we look down on ourselves. This one also kind of helps how we also look out for the needs of others and what's going on in the world. And this is an A to Z devotional, and the word is I, and the word today is injustice. Trauma-informed care seems to mirror the biblical precepts of caring for the marginalized and outcasts, suffering under a weight of stigma and pain. That could even be you feeling like you're under a certain stigma and dealing with the pain of that and finding it hard to push past. So many people have faced abuse and injustice as children and adults. This can leave people struggling in a fast-paced, me-first society. One of my trauma-informed care heroes is Mother Teresa and her crew. Their beautiful mission involved picking up the desperate and lonely from the dregs of the street and providing compassion and care as they help to bind up their physical, mental, and spiritual wounds. You know, our bodies work together in synergy of physical, mental, and spiritual. I pray that as we go about our busy activities and routines, we can notice the hurting and needy around us. It is not always just someone laying in the street. It can be someone going through pain and whatever, at work, at school, in your family, at church, in places that you go. And I pray that we can notice the hurting and needy. Even if we don't have money to offer, we can provide eye contact and a listening ear. Many times people are so used to being ignored and looked down upon. Do you ever feel like that? When someone takes the time to show caring in action, it can make a tremendous difference on the recipient's outlook and ability to go on. I'm sure you also appreciate when someone takes that time to listen to what you're going through and maybe just offers listening and or help. Let's strive to be more like the Good Samaritan instead of quickly rushing to the other side of the road to avoid the unlovely. We don't even have to go far to find someone crying out for love. We can start in our own families and the everyday places that we go. As we seek to provide this type of empathy, I pray that it will return to you in your own time of need. Yes, I do pray that empathy and kindness will also return to you as you shower that onto others. Even if you're busy, it can be just that. How are you doing? Eye contact, listening for a moment. And a lot of people don't have that and are going through a lot of struggles. So let's help out with that. And also I need to tell you at the end of this podcast, which won't be long, there's always a bonus and a prize. And I'm going to tell you about that in a minute after I do another devotional for you. I'll tell you about the bonus and prize that's coming up at the end. So the next is my newest is Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. And I really discuss a lot of things that you go through, that we go through, that people go through in the world at large, whether it's abuse, feeling battered and abused, whether it's human trafficking, also people from fleeing from different homelands because of war and crime and poverty. We also talk about feeling inferior in ourselves, self-loathing, anxiety. There's a lot in here, and I picked out a couple to read to you today. But first, I'm going to tell you quickly about the bonus and the prize that's at the end. I read you a quick, action-packed, short chapter from my published fictional drama. It's full of action and adventure, and it's actually deals with the struggles of people on the front lines of emergency and mental health, those that they take care of. We talk about different mental health and emergency struggles. Also, how it relates to families, the church, the community. And it's all an interconnected, action-packed series. And we also look at the frontline workers and our own mental health battles, our thought struggles, and so on. So let's jump into a couple of the spoken word pieces that I did. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you think about the spoken word, what you think about how it applies to your own life from my Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. The first one I chose is called Inferior. And also at my website, there is a tab of my different spoken words and Ignite Life spoken words that you can see. So inferior. And this might be how sometimes you feel or others feel. Self-loathing. I don't measure up. How will I compare? Just want to fit in and stop wishing life was unfair. My reflection seems subpar. My size, my shape, I don't dress like a star. When will I be enough? Satisfied with what I see. Content to be unique, let go and just be. And the devotional part reminds us, as I said, you are enough. You do have that inherent worth and value, and we can always work on what we want to work on, but you are enough to start with. We don't have to fit into a certain mold or adopt the so-called cool way to fit in that is promoted in media and our surroundings. Embrace your uniqueness and remember you are already enough. Another one, as I said, this just talks about people running from different countries, and it's called Weary Travelers. Running from chaos, nowhere to hide, looking for shelter, safety to abide. All is so different, the food, the dress, nothing is easy, a journey under duress. Hoping for smiles, a stranger to become friend. Do they know about my struggles? Weariness from all these miles. And the devotional part reminds us that war, crime, poverty, and danger can provoke certain populations to flee their homeland. I cannot imagine, can you, how frightening and disheartening it could be to end up in an unfamiliar environment with no belongings or prospects. Empathy and kindness are needed in this refugee crisis. And the motivating verse was Leviticus 19:34. The stranger that dwells with you will be unto you as one born among you, and you shall love them as yourself, for you were strangers before. And that's motivated by what God asks us to do and being kind to others. And another one is kind of on the same lines. It is about strangers, but it's the strangers just in our everyday life that we encounter. So a sea of people, who can I trust? Walking by them every day, averting eyes seems like a must. By chance, do we have something in common? Similar hobbies, life goals to achieve, families to raise, reasons to believe. Our hearts all beat the same, blood flows and revives. My fear of these strangers is something to tame. And the devotional part reminds us at your school, workplace, church, wherever, other social gathering, have you ever taken the time to notice someone, a new face that looks shy and alone? Perhaps you feel that way sometimes. I consider it a joy to welcome these new people and try to make them feel included. How about you? Do you notice people that are looking shy or not included or feeling like they don't measure up and try to help them through that? I hope that you do. I think we have a couple more just because there's so many in this particular devotional that really speaks to how people feel. And this is called limitations. Sometimes you might feel like because of mental and or physical diagnosis that you have, that you're stuck at home or in certain labels or boxes. So it's called limitations. Many visits to my doctor. My illness requires frequent care. Most days I'm at home with not much to do. And as a nurse on the front line, I do see people that are stuck at home and feel like they can't contribute. But sometimes feeling useless, wishing to experience something new. Stay home, I'm told. Better to be safe. Take care not to exert. Dare not to be bold. Must I live life subdued? Or can I learn a new skill? Maybe I'll try this time, my dream to fulfill. And the devotional part on this reminds us, Sometimes those with a medical or mental health diagnosis can feel like they're stuck in that box of limitations. Do you ever feel like that? Do you know people or take care of people that do? And I like the term neuroplasticity. It describes that our brain is always regenerating new circuits and pathways, especially when we try and learn new things. So no matter what labels you feel have been stamped across your life, I pray that you will continue to learn and contribute with your own unique abilities and your own inherent values and worth. There's a lot in here because, as I said, this book is just full of that. There's a link on my website to Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. Let's do this one. Unique. My difference makes me awkward. Everyone else gets the award. Can't really help it. I was born this way. Sometimes not chosen, left pondering dismay. But yes, myself, I need to remind I can always improve, even advance my state of mind, hone a unique skill, enroll in a new class, get a jump start on joy, enrich my life will. So I urge you to break out of your boxes, try new things, read, learn, grow. You know what? It's never too late. And there's one more, but I just want to remind you, I'm Nurse Ann. I'm a nurse on Certified Emergency and Mental Health Registered nurse on the front line. Follow, share. There's so many people that feel like they're stuck in labels and limitations, and that could be you sometimes. So one more, and then we'll move on, and we're almost at the bonus and the prize. I'm going to make it quick. So this one is called Notice Me, and then we'll move on. Does anyone see? Can they even relate? Sometimes invisible, wondering if they hate. Which shoes to wear, just to fit in. What style for my hair, just hoping to win. Does anyone see? Can they even relate? Sometimes invisible, wondering if they hate. Must I jump through the hoops, trying to impress? Rearrange my likes, even the style of my dress. Does anyone see? Can they even relate? Sometimes invisible, wondering if they hate. But you know what? Thank you, my friend, for providing a chance, including me in on this exciting life dance. And this just remembers to be inclusive to others, because we don't know what struggles people are battling internally. And it could be from childhood even. And the devotional, people of all ages can sometimes feel starved for attention, eye contact, and conversation. As we go about our day, it can be a mutually enriching experience to notice each other, inquire about each other's well-being. So let's move on. We're about to get to the bonus and the prize in just a minute. I'm going to go through one more. I also have Energized Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit. That's my devotional that reminds us that our bodies and minds and spirit work together in synergy. It helps us live at our top health for all of those areas. So one more. This is from my Mental Healing Poetry Devotional. We discuss a lot of life challenges along with God-ordained courage and healing to help us turn away from those mindsets controlled by fear, so you can have inspiration to step into your true destiny of a purpose-driven life. Step away from fear and looking down on yourselves. So this one is Sheep Among Wolves. I've read this before, and I'm not going to read it today because we're running out of time, but it just talks about a young lady on the street who's battling frightening hallucinations, trying to fend off ravenous predatory wolves. You can see this at my website on the mental healing poetry, it's spoken word poetry tab. But the devotional does remind us that as a nurse on the front lines of emergency and mental health, I see many people struggling with mind battles, homelessness, drug addiction, and so much more. Unfortunately, a lot of these lives have had their innocence stolen by trauma and abuse. It is deplorable to see someone without any safe shelter or food. At the same time, a lot of these lost sheep try to manage frightening hallucinations, taking over their mind while attempting to fend off ravenous predatory wolves. I'll let you hear the rest of that at my Mental Healing Poetry Devotional. Everyone get a drink of water. It's so healthy for you to drink water all throughout your day. It's really going to help your health and keep your cells healthy too. Don't you want healthy cells? So I'm about to let you go, but first we'll jump into that bonus and the prize. I'm going to show you what it is. In my free time as a busy nurse, I created a 6-part drama series that highlights the struggles that you go through, those you take care of, your family, and so on. different mental health struggle or two in each. It's an interconnected series, 6-part series. We highlight different struggles. There's trauma, abuse, anxiety, autism, the spectrum. There are different disabilities in here, mental health battles, thought disorders, Alzheimer's, dementia, relapse, addiction, so much more. In each one, we go through a different struggle. To make it almost free and easier, it's in one book, The Mental Falls First 6 Stories edition by Nurse Ann, that's me. And I also put it in an audiobook we don't always have time to read. And plus, it's full of action, adventure, advocacy, and awareness. It was narrated by Drama Simpson, who brought it to life with siren noises, lots and lots of action, because it is made to be a television drama series with your help, and that's at Audible and iTunes, The Mental Falls First 6 Stories edition. So let's jump into today's. We've already been through book 1 and book 2. Now we're in book 3, and it's The Mental Falls, A Tent Under the Bridge. In chapter 16 is deadlines. And if you've missed the rest, all these are on my website, at the podcast and YouTube channel. The podcast you can watch from the very beginning of the series, where I read you one chapter, an action-packed chapter with action, adventure, advocacy, awareness, danger, romance, faith, suspense, and inspiration. And then we also talk about those different life struggles. So you can go back, you can pick and choose, or you can watch from the beginning, however you like. Make sure you're following, like this, share it, and leave your comments. So let's jump into this, and then we'll go on about our day. So chapter 16 is deadlines. From The Mental Falls, A Tent Under the Bridge. Filled with ambition, excitement, and a dose of impatience, Officer Leon decided today would be the day. I'm going to ask her, and I'll tell her about the counseling and let her know I will wait. I am changing, and I love her. With that declaration, Leon drove to pick up Lita for the prearranged lunch date. Dun, 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 what's going to happen? Now, on the other side of town, under the bridge, Abigail was in panic mode when she realized that her and her long-lost daughter had fallen asleep that night. Now the sun was beaming through the thin walls of her tent. I've got to get her back before they call the police, she said to herself as she quickly thought of ways to make that happen. They'll never let me see her again. Where am I? Questioned the naive girl as she started to sit up on top of the sleeping bag her mom had let her use. I'm hungry. Abigail was relieved that her debit card had been reloaded. All right, sweetie, I'll take you to lunch and then call a taxi. She had to feed her daughter and future grandchild, she reasoned. Do you want to call the boarding home on my phone? Asked the worried mother. No, came the quick response. Since Julie had snuck out in the first place, she thought she had better sneak back in. They'll just think I'm sleeping late, offered the boarding home resident. Abigail foolishly thought that sounded reasonable. What she didn't realize was that Julie had already missed a few doses of her medication. Julie's mind was already taking on a paranoid and fearful edge. Abigail had not been around when Julie was diagnosed with her thought disorder. As a result, she didn't know the signs her daughter was starting to display. After packing her backpack with her usual items, Abigail encouraged Julie to follow her out of the tent quietly. As per her routine, Abigail looked both ways to ensure that no one was watching her exit. That is the end of chapter 16, deadlines. Next is chapter 17, boarding home bedlam. You'll have to watch the next podcast to find out what happens on this action-packed series, action adventure, but also has that advocacy and awareness. And you know what? I'm going to see you at the next nurseann.com podcast. Make sure you're following, like it, push the notification bell, leave your comment today, share it, because everyone is dealing with sometimes that self-loathing, and we can pass that and work on that so we can get past that. See you next time. Have a great day.